pressing forward. Well done. Hi, welcome to another session with Josh and Jamie on Glaive. We're going to actually cover off some of the basic attack combinations that we use. What we're going to do first is go through some of the chops, and then we're going to go through thrusts. And we're going to do this from two angles. We're going to do this from side on, pole, and then front on, pole, and then we're going to do sword. So one of the primary things with any chop is using push-pull. To do that, yes, it's really complicated. You're pulling with one hand and you're pushing with the other. The thing to remember about this is that effectively there's a fulcrum point somewhere between your hands that you're leveraging. That can be the back hand, it can be the front hand, or it can be any place on the stick that you actually need to do. When you're actually throwing the blow, you can change it. It's a little bit more advanced to do it. Everything that I'm going to do here, I'm going to try and use a fulcrum point in the middle. This maximizes the strength of both the left hand and right hand in actually doing it. The big thing, this is one of the big advantages of actually using a glaive, because a small amount of movement here creates quite a significant amount of movement on the end of the stick. So this is one of the primary advantages it's got, is speed, which is actually a mechanical advantage of the weapon. Okay, so that's what we're trying to use. So the basic chop is out at about 45 degrees, then strike. Now the strike should be with the body forward, coming forward, and the hands push pull and come across. It should always be firm, and should always try and take his head off if possible. And it should always be quick. Now I'm going to do that really, really slowly. So effectively all I'm doing, I'll turn around so you can see, is taking a little step forward, body is coming forward, and then together. So in slow motion, bang, at the fulcrum. Now, to adjust this slightly, I'm going to do one off just off the backhand. And all I'm doing there is using my front hand, and I'm going stiff, leaning in, and one off the front. One off the front. You'll notice that I have to take a step with that. That's fairly standard because you can see it's coming back further, and because I'm keeping the front hand steady and everything's coming off the back, it's just, if I don't take the step, I won't actually get the shot. The thing I find about chops, and this is probably more for your advanced guys, is that it allows you to chop into position. So I'm going to ask Josh to stand off the camera about 45 degrees so you can get a better view of what I'm doing a bit further around me. So if I can get line on him, so I can come in and strike here. At the moment, if I thrust, it's easy to block. So a chop is a really, really effective way and quick way to get a thrust into position. So this is a chop thrust, again for your advanced guys to be able to do it. Come offline just slightly again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop into his face. Again, what I'm doing is using the mechanical advantage of this. A normal thrust is just coming forward, so I'm not actually getting that much mechanical advantage off the stick. But if I actually chop it into position, I'm actually using the mechanical advantage that the lever actually gives me. So one of my favourite things to do, because he's not normally going to give me the line, is take a little bit to the step to the left or right to give me the line, chop it into his face, typically in front of him, and all I do is lean forward. The lean forward actually gives me the thrust distance. The reason why I do that in the order is so that my opponent doesn't actually see it coming. A thrust is very, very, very telegraphed in a lot of ways. There's a big body movement that actually comes along with the thrust. But a chop thrust, because it's got the two motions, one to get into position and then thrust, minimises the amount of time that your opponent actually has to react to the body. Yep. The other advantage that the chop thrust has is the ability to actually move the weapon. So in this case, Josh is directly on line with me. The tip is actually going to stop anything that I actually throw into his face. But a chop thrust means that I can actually block the weapon and then come forward and actually thrust him in the head, which is always good. The other thing with the chop, is against a pole for me is also location. First of all, you don't want to expose too much of your body against another pole. You want to be able to keep your defense sort of around your mid-level. So chopping up here is typically a bad idea because you're just going to get whacked. Having said that, based on if you get a decent timing break, you can actually do some other interesting things like chopping to the leg. Now, when I chop to the leg, if I do it like this, what's he going to do? I'm going to take my head off. Easy done. So if you're going to chop low, lift your hands. Okay, I'm keeping across my line, so that way he's only got that shot and we're actually blocking it out together. I'm probably going to leave it there for the moment, but the big things to remember about chops, it's one of the biggest advantages you've got with this weapon. It actually uses the lever of the weapon. A fulcrum point can be anywhere along the stick, and get used to it. Thanks guys.
Show us the chop. Well, so we're now on mine. He's going to show you what the chop does.
So this is classic bead attack chop.
Not so classic.
Shit, yeah. And again. And one more for the poor team. Cool. Right. Thanks guys.